Happy Metaphysical Monday, everybody. As we step into election week this week, I wanted to talk about a metaphysical concept that I think can help us all to transcend our need to be right, our need for our candidate to win, our need to dig our heels in on whatever our current perspectives are. The issues are important and they're very real. However, there is a design within the political system that seeks to divide, to further and further divide, to divide us along racial lines, to divide us along lines of sexuality, lines of gender, lines of political party. And it is up to us to transcend those limiting divisions and realize that we are all one. So, the metaphysical concept is that all of existence is divine. What this means is that by the very nature of the thing being, or the thing having happened, or the thing occurring, it takes on divinity, because for it to exist, it means it has been endowed with the energy of Source, the energy of God, the energy of the Creator. Whatever your word for it is, it doesn't matter. This isn't to alienate anyone whose beliefs are what they are. This is to say that when something has occurred in the world and exists in the world, it is now part of the divine structure of the world. It is part of the world you live in, and it is part of the world I live in, even if it is not something we would prefer to see, experience, or have had to happen. So there's something, an ancient tool that I learned from an amazing author and scientist named Greg Braden that has really resonated with me, and I've seen it work in my own life and has real-time, concrete consequences for the positive whenever you employ it. And he calls it the code of blessing. I like to call it blessing what is. And there are a few steps in this process. Essentially, the idea here is that when you bless something, you are sending pure positive energy toward that something, even if it's something awful. And so it allows us to transcend our place of feeling helpless or disempowered when we witness something that we would prefer not to be occurring, or we prefer not to witness. Any sort of tragedies overseas, or anything in a place that isn't local to you that starts to bother you or hurt your soul, or just something as simple as the wrong candidate for you winning tomorrow. By following these steps and literally doing this out loud, you can shift your internal state of being, and you can also have a positive effect on the outside world, because instead of resisting what is or condemning what is with your energy, you are blessing what is. Quantum physicists have now told us and discovered in no uncertain terms that the world is made of energy, and that the world is completely connected through a unified field. It's called unified field theory, and this field of energy was discovered by Max Planck in 1944. It's a real thing. You can look it up. It's scientifically based. So that real thing is in essence proving that the energy field that you put out there does in fact infect and affect the world around you. So when you remain in resistance or disappointment or utter frustration to an event that's beyond your control, you're adding those layers of negative energy to that event and giving it more momentum, thus having the opposite of the type of impact that you would want to be having on the events that you say you don't prefer. So how to employ the technique of blessing what is? The first step is to bless the perpetrator. So perpetrator is just a word I'm using because as we look at something we don't prefer, we will assign blame automatically to that thing. Like, I'll use an example of where this has worked for me in my life and really helped me to transform my inner state of being, and that's in traffic. When somebody cuts me off in traffic, they're the perpetrator because they cut me off. And if I say out loud in the car, blessings upon you, I bless you for having cut me off, and I hope that that experience allows you to get to know yourself better for what you've done. And then you have to do all three steps, and you repeat these steps until they sink in and you feel an emotional shift. Step 2 is to bless the victim. So in this case, the victim is yourself, but in other cases, you might be seeing someone who got cut off in traffic, or seeing someone who was hit by a car, and there's nothing you can do about that other than try to send positive energy. So step 1 is to bless the perpetrator. Step 2 is to then bless the victim and say, I bless you for suffering in the way you are, and I hope that this experience allows you to get to know yourself better in that way. And then step 3 is to bless yourself as the witness and say, I bless myself for having witnessed this event, and I hope that it allows me to get to know myself better in that way. Because the best thing, the most powerful thing any of us can do to have a positive impact on the world is self-work, is to go inside of our hearts and to understand ourselves better. Because as we understand ourselves better, we can learn to uncock our hair triggers, and we can learn to be less affected by the waves in the sea of change that we're all going through on the planet right now. And make no mistake, it is a sea of change, a rapidly changing landscape, and there's no end in sight to this level of change. So when you approach the world from a place of insisting things go back to the way they were, you've immediately put yourself in resistance, and you've immediately put yourself in a place of disempowerment. Because if things are beyond your control and the energy that you put out there is, oh, why couldn't they go my way? Why couldn't they be different? That's unfair. That's an injustice. Then you're just adding to the energetic field, the unified field that connects all things. Those feelings, you're compounding the feelings that you actually want to see transformed and healed. So we can take a direct polar opposite route and bless what is. You say, I bless you for hitting that woman, and I hope that that experience helps you get to know yourself in that way. And woman, I bless you who has just been hit by a car, and I hope that experience allows you to get to know yourself better in that way. And then you say to yourself, self, I bless myself as the witness to this event, and I hope that it allows me to get to know myself better in that way. And it doesn't mean to shield yourself from whatever grief or negative feelings you're feeling. It means to lean into them, and as you lean into them with your deep, vulnerable authenticity, that you drop your resistance to them having to be different, because they cannot be different. They are in the past. They can only be what they are. And because they can only be what they are, when you come to them with yourself, however hurt, however angry, however frustrated you are, and you begin to bless that situation, all aspects of it, the doer, the receiver, and the witness, you can shift your emotional inner place. And when you shift your emotional inner place, it has an effect on the world around you, because our universe is holographic in nature, meaning that when there's a change to one small part of it, it ripples out and has changes to all the other aspects of it. So as you become more self-aware and more aligned with the power of blessing instead of resisting whatever is occurring in your field of view, in your universe, then you are magnifying that energy of acceptance and blessing to the entire field of creation around you. To be clear, blessing means power. When you bless something, you pull your power back, because when you resist something or cringe at the injustice or let yourself get swallowed up in outrage, you have given your power away and said, outside circumstance, you have the power. I want you to be different and you're not. So then you are powerless against the outside circumstance. So to shift away from disempowerment, you can shift into blessing, because when you bless what is, even if it's something you don't prefer, you're taking your power back and you're saying, I am going to approach this external thing from an empowered place that I choose, as opposed to being reactive to the situation that has occurred. You can be responsive. And responsive is a much deeper, more peaceful, more empowering place. What blessing is not is approval. Blessing does not mean that you approve. To bless something doesn't mean you condone it. It doesn't mean you approve of it. And it doesn't mean you want more of it. Those are just misunderstandings and tricks in our language. To bless something means to say, I fully allow it because it has occurred, and I understand that it is divine in nature, and that I understand that the outside world is always there to teach me something about myself, no matter what that circumstance is. I can use it as a lesson designed to help set me free, or I can say it's something terrible, it's something awful, and it's something I'm the victim of. We always have that choice. Okay? So bless what is. Bless the perpetrator, bless the victim, and bless yourself. And it's very important that you don't skip that last step, step 3, that you really do take time to bless yourself. And it's also important that these are said out loud. When you say them out loud and you add that bit about hoping that it helps the person get to know themselves better, that's the key to it, because what you're doing is calling in the energy of awareness. And awareness is 90% of transformation. When you shine the light of awareness on anything, you're allowing it to transform, because you're able to see it for what it is without judgment, And from that place of safety, of seeing something for what it is without judgment, it changes. It changes almost immediately. So, blessings upon you. Practice this and tell me how your experiences go in the comments. I'd love to hear more. Thank you so much. Happy Metaphysical Monday. My rope.